we all getting balls. Everybody's getting a game ball, man, because we all put it in. Everybody gets a game ball, and my favorite thing about football, Victory Monday. We'll see y'all later.
Jeff Saturday getting it done on Sunday. Wow, that was something. Because, look, the fact that they won does not change how crazy and zany and upside down last Monday was. We had to reconvene an emergency episode of PFTPM to try to figure out what Jim Irsay was doing, and we concluded by saying, is there actually a chance he's going to go outside the organization and hire an interim coach? Because at the time we didn't know, and he did. And he brought in Jeff Saturday, and it really was a week. And then the quarterback, who supposedly was starting for the rest of the season, according to head coach Frank Reich, Sam Ehlinger, he gets benched, surprisingly, for Matt Ryan. I mean, the information going into the game was, oh, Ryan took some first-team reps on Friday. You know, maybe we'll see him again. Yeah, we saw him. We saw him for Jeff Saturday's debut, even though Saturday himself said Ehlinger is the starting quarterback. So that was something. They won that game, and I don't know, does it say something really good about Saturday, or does it say something really bad about the Las Vegas Raiders?
Little of column A, a lot of column B. You know? I mean, look, Jeff Saturday wasn't going to come in and overhaul everything. You can't do that. He's never been a head coach before. And he told Peter King, I'm watching him on this thing on the sideline, and the game was going so fast compared to when I was a player. It's like, oh, man, I looked up and half the game's over. And then I look up again and we're in the fourth quarter. And it's like, okay, you know, his job was to sort of rally everybody and get them to play good football, to borrow a phrase from Dick Vermeil. But I mean, I was not shocked by this result because I said the entire week, if there is any team that will lose a game to a high school coach, it is the 2022 Las Vegas Raiders. And lo and behold, they went out and they did it.
Yeah, and it really does make you wonder what it means for Josh McDaniels. And again, but for the buyout, and Mark Davis had to reach a contract settlement with John Gruden last year, and he would have to pay McDaniels a ton of money. But for the buyout, McDaniels would be coordinator of the New England Patriots offense by Christmas, I believe. And because Mark Davis isn't one of these, you know, mega billionaires. He'd have to dig deep with the cash flow to buy out Josh McDaniels, and he'd also have to admit his mistake. He hired him. You know, in Denver, number one, the buyout's not an issue for the Walmart moguls. And number two, they didn't hire Nathaniel Hackett. So no big deal. See you later.
Right.
Mark Davis is going to have to admit, I screwed this up. I should have kept Rich Bisaccia and Mike Mayock in place, as he should have. I was saying it at the time. He should have. I mean, it's like he's got this magic ace up his sleeve. I'm finally going to lure Josh McDaniels away from New England. And it's entirely possible that Josh McDaniels is the latest example of Norv Turner, Wade Phillips, the guys who are so great as coordinators, they continue to get chances to be head coaches. They go back to be coordinators. They're so great again. Well, they're ready now to be head coaches. This time it'll be different. It's a fundamental difference in skill sets. And some guys are excellent as coordinators, but then when you give them the next step, and you don't know until you do it. That's what's so fascinating about it. You don't know whether or not a guy's going to step up and do that very different job of head coach until you just say, there you go. You're operating without a net. Try not to fall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you bring up Norv Turner and Wade Phillips, but I mean, at least those guys could win some games, get to the playoffs a little bit. This Josh McDaniels team is entirely disappointing. And I think you're right, you know, but for this buyout, man, I listen to some of the things that players are saying. I'm reading things that players are saying, and I watch this football team, and it's like, I have no idea how you are going to get a group of men to buy into what it is that you're saying after you go out there and you don't have a good enough plan to beat a coach who was an ESPN NFL analyst a week ago and a play caller on offense who had never called a play before, and a quarterback who looked terrible throughout the entire season until he was replaced by a 6th-round pick from 2021. They allowed a 39-yard run to Matt Ryan yesterday. 39 yards. His career longest run was 20 yards. I mean, come on, man. I don't know what's going on there, but I have a hard time thinking, how in the world is this going to get better?
The guy calling plays for the Colts 3 years ago was picking up Frank Reich's dry cleaning. He was the assistant to the head coach. I mean, Sims was saying that last week. I didn't know what the assistant to the head coach did. Sims does. Goes out and gets coffee, picks up dry cleaning, whatever the head coach needs, because the head coach is fully committed to coaching the team. So there's a lot of other stuff the coach needs, and the assistant to the head coach goes and does all that stuff that the coach doesn't have time to do, which makes sense. But that's what he was doing 3 years ago. Credit to Parks Frazier for getting it done. No credit to the Raiders. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.